Hello friends and welcome back. In the last video we have seen on how to implement the generic repository in our project. We also used it in the controller to get the products, the types and the brands. Again, we're facing the issue of adding the navigation properties like we did in the repository pattern. And not only that, we also can't add some required criteria on certain entities like we did in the repository pattern. And sometimes generic repository, when it's not used in the proper way, can be referred to as an anti-pattern, because with generics it's too much of generalization. And honestly speaking, every entity can at some point have unique requirements that need to be addressed separately. In order to address these requirements, we use what we call specification pattern to empower the generic repository so as to specify kind of behavior that we need from our entities. And in that case, we'll be having different specifications with descriptive names that can easily tell you what they are designed to do. And that's what we are going to create in this video. To start up, I'm going to collapse all of these and I'm going to go into the core project. And in here, I'm going to create a folder that will contain all the specification. And I'm going to call this as specifications. And after creating this folder, I'm going to add an interface and I'm going to call this as iSpecification. And we have to take a type of T, and we have to add the expression for the includes and for the criteria. I'm going to create this and I'm going to call this as iSpecification and press enter. And I'm going to add the type of T in here, and I'm going to clean up here by pressing Ctrl dot and remove unnecessary usings. And when we are here, we need to add two expressions. We need the one that will help us with these includes, and we need the other one that will help us with the criteria like this one. And that's what we're going to do. In order to do that, we're going to say expression, and it will have to take a func, and I'm going to add the T here, and I'm going to add the bool for boolean, and I'm going to call this as criteria. Alright, and I'm going to add the gate here like this one. Okay, and after doing this, I'm going to add also the list of expression. I'm going to say list of expression, and I'm going to add the func of type T, and in this case I'm going to return the object, and I'm going to call this as includes like this one, and I'm going to do like this and add the missing bracket. Alright, and here we go. After creating these, we need to create another class, and it will be a base specification that will help us to implement this interface, and we have to add some configuration as required. And again, in the specification folder, I'm going to right click and new C# class, and I'm going to call this as base specification like this one. And this will take a type of T, of course, and again I'm going to add the iSpecification. I'm going to implement this here. I'm going to derive from this, and I'm going to give this a type of T, and I'm going to implement this interface in here. Instead of throwing this, I'm going to add the gate, and the same for here, we're going to add the gate. I'm going to add the gate. While we are still here, I'm going to add the constructor that we have to take this kind of behavior, and I'm going to do this in here. I'm going to first copy this because that's what we are going to add in there, and I'm going to go into the base specification and press Ctrl dot, and I'm going to generate the constructor, and inside this constructor I'm going to paste these, and I'm going to call this as criteria, and I'm going to initialize the criteria from here into here. So I'm going to say criteria will be equal to this criteria from the parameter. Alright, and again, as we'll be having the list of includes, it is now a practical way to go ahead and initialize this as an empty list. So I'm going to copy this type, and I'm going to say that this will be equal to new list, and to take this type, and here we go like this one, and we're going to initialize the list of this expression for the includes. And in order to add these includes, we need also to add the method that will help us to do that, and that method is subjected to be accessed inside this base specification and derive the class, and we need to add the accessor for that behavior. And I'm going to say protected void, and I'm going to call this as add include, and this is what will be using where we are going to add the include. And I'm going to pass in the type to be like this one, and I'm going to call this as include expression. And inside here, let me bring this down, and inside here I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to say includes dot add, and what I'm going to be adding is now this include expression from the parameter, okay, like this one. All right, and after setting this, now time to add the specification evaluator. And I don't want to make these videos as long as we are introducing these topics that are somehow hard to grasp. I want to make these videos short so as to be able to explain what we are going to do. So I'm going to add the specification evaluator next, and bear with me while we are building this. It will help us when we are going to add any kind of complicated things like sorting and other things. So I'm going to see you in the next video where we are going to add the specification evaluator. So see you there. Stay cool.